Hello and welcome to this channel. So today we're talking about transforming from ego to self through the light of the Akashic Records. We could also describe this as transforming from self with little s or small s into self with big S or capital S through the light of the Akashic Records. So, first, we need to make a clear distinction between ego and self, or little self, and self with capital S. So, when we think about ego or self with little s, small s, here we're really talking about our human personalities. So, the human identities that we've taken on as part of being in a physical body in this physical incarnation. And these personalities, these identities will only last for one lifetime, right? We can't take these with us once we shed our physical bodies. So these are temporary, transient parts of ourselves, personalities, personas, sometimes that we've taken on and adopted and developed as part of being in a physical body. So that's our little s self or our ego self. This is also the mask that we have developed just by virtue of being human to be able to interact with other people in the world and to move through the world, to be accepted, to be liked, to be loved, all of those things that our ego or little self is really concerned with. Now, in contrast, your self with capital S, that is who you actually are. That is who you really are at your divine level and also your essential core level. So, who you really are, this is your transpersonal self. So, the much broader, bigger, wiser, more connected, divine aspect of you. And this is truly how divine energy is expressing itself through you. This is what your self with capital S really is that much larger expression of who you are. And this self with capital S is eternal. Some people refer to this as the soul or the higher self. But the important point is that it is not temporary, it is eternal, it is endless. And you will actually return to being this self with capital S fully, without any distractions, without any impediments or limitations. Once you shed your physical body and you return to oneness, all that is when you become fully and only that self with big S. So the self that is pure, unconditional love, wisdom, connection, and is not separate from all that is and pretty much the entire universe. So that's really the key distinction between these two selves that we are talking about. I also want to talk a little bit about uh, vertical versus horizontal experience. So, what does this mean and how does it relate to these two selves? So, your self with the little s, meaning your ego self, meaning this just limited, temporary persona or personality that you've taken on as a human, that self is having a horizontal experience. That self exists at that level of horizontal experience, which means you as a human interacting with other humans, you as an ego interacting with other people's egos, You moving through day-to-day life, paying the bills, cooking some food and eating that food, picking up your kids from school, taking them to activities, paying taxes, cleaning your house, just all of the things that we do at that horizontal level, which is our human experience on this physical plane, this physical dimension. That's we could say the environment or the habitat that yourself with little s inhabits. And that's really the only experience that ego can have. Ego self cannot have transcendental spiritual experiences just by nature of what it is, what ego is. And in fact, when we have those transcendental or transpersonal experiences, we are actually moving beyond ego. So that's what some people refer to as the death of the ego, when we can get beyond those ego patterns, ego attachments, and agendas, and all of the unconscious motivators that may be running the show when we are identified with our ego self, when we think that that is all we are. So that's the horizontal experience. And the beautiful thing and the beautiful thing is that as divine beings who are inhabiting these physical bodies, we also have access always and forever to a vertical kind of experience. So, this is your connection to divine source, your connection to the spiritual dimensions, and to fields of consciousness, by the way, like the Akashic Records, that we not may be able to perceive through our limited human senses, right? So, ego self says, the Akashic records don't exist. You don't have the right to access them anyway, even if they did exist. And it's all baloney. And you have to grow up and not believe in magic, right? And get serious and be a serious adult and be successful and be accepted and all of these things that the ego is attached to. But of course, we have that capacity as divine beings incarnated in human bodies to reach up into the vertical dimensions, into the spiritual, transcendental, transpersonal dimensions, and into these vast and really healing and magical, we could say, fields of consciousness and fields of awareness that are operating at much higher levels of reality and consciousness and energy and frequency than what is accessible to us at the egoic or human or 3D level. So I hope that all of those differences are making sense, right? And it is in that vertical dimension or that vertical habitat or environment where yourself with capital S really resides. So that is the habitat of yourself with capital S, or your higher self and your soul. And this is why, for example, when you meditate and you go to a deep place and you get really receptive, you are opening up that vertical connection, which also means, by the way, opening up your chakra system, opening up your energy centers, and reconnecting to that transpersonal aspect of who you really are, beyond the physical, beyond the body, and importantly, beyond the ego mind. Because the ego mind wants to keep us locked in the horizontal dimension. And the ego mind sometimes wants to make us question whether that vertical dimension and that spiritual connection are even real or even possible, right? So it's ego mind that makes us second guess ourselves. So you can see from this discussion already how shifting from that little s self into big S, capital S self would be hugely healing, expansive, beneficial, and joyful, and a really important thing to do on the spiritual path of awakening. I mean, that's why we walk the spiritual path. So we can get beyond ego as much as we can while still having physical bodies, and reconnect to that capital S self that is who we really are here to be. So, who we are meant to be, that full expression, fully self-realized expression of who we are meant to be here in this lifetime. So, how can the Akashic Records help you shift from ego self, uh, or beyond that ego self, and reconnect to your capital S self or transpersonal self and all of your transpersonal dimensions, gifts, aspects, wisdom that you've accumulated over multiple lifetimes? All of that is available to you, can be reclaimed. So, here are some ways in which the Akashic Records as a divine tool can help us do this. So, first of all, whenever you connect to the Akashic Records, the records help you reverse what we might call 3D amnesia, because, as I'm sure you know, when we are born, right? So our souls make the conscious choice to come into these human bodies, and we are born so pure and so connected and so intuitive, and then we forget. Right, so the world starts to have its way with us. We start to be influenced by other people's beliefs, value systems, ideas, behaviors. All of that makes such a huge impression on us. We are influenced by that. And we start to internalize a lot of that and to behave based on what others expect from us or whatever is considered acceptable in our culture or society or family of origin. So we develop this form of 3D amnesia where we forget who we actually are, where we really come from, that we're not really separate, that we're not really alone, right? That we are divine beings in human form, that we are connected to something much bigger than ourselves, and that connection can never be lost. So the Akashic Records help you reconnect to your innermost self, to your sense of self. They help you restore your memory of that divinity within you and who you really are. So by doing this, you can remember who you really are, and you can express who you really are, your authentic self, your true self in this lifetime. The way that I teach my students how to work with the Akashic Records, basically every time that we speak the portal prayer, which is the prayer that opens the records, every time we do that, it is an act of remembrance. And that prayer already helps us remember who we really are and why we are really here. What is the highest purpose for our lives? The Akashic Records can also help you shed human density. So this includes shedding coping mechanisms that no longer support the expansion of who you are here to be. This includes releasing defense mechanisms that keep you limited or keep you afraid, or keep you sort of bracing against life and bracing against other people and maybe afraid of rejection or afraid of losing something you love, or afraid of how others are going to respond to you if you make a certain choice. All of this can be gradually and compassionately looked at and released through the Akashic records and the healing power of the records. Um, and this really helps you get more in touch with what is true, what is actually authentically true for your real self with capital S. And everything else, anything that's not true or a true reflection of that authentic higher self that you really are, uh, all of that can be gradually dissipated, dissolved, or released through the records and by working with the records. The Akashic records help you return home to your true self. And I've heard from some students when they first open the records or their first few times in the records that they can feel a sense of belonging and a sense of coming home to themselves that they've never experienced before in this whole lifetime. And I've had that experience uh, as well, especially as someone who you may know this already about me, maybe not if you've listened to this channel or this podcast, but my backstory is that I am an immigrant. So I moved away with my parents from my native country of Argentina when I was 12 years old to Ecuador, and then we moved again. So we immigrated again uh, to the United States when I was 17. So I've been an immigrant, I've been a nomad in that sense. I was uprooted at that early, very formative age. So I had this sense for a long time in my life that I didn't belong anywhere, that I didn't have roots. It was really hard to feel grounded and kind of anchored into any physical place that I was in, or to feel like I was home. So no place felt like home. And for me personally, the Akashic Records have helped me work through that and heal that and really create and find for myself a place of deep belonging and a deep coming home to myself within myself. So the records have really helped me understand and embody this idea and this experience that I carry this home and this sense of belonging within myself now, no matter where I am physically. And that has been hugely healing for me. So the Akashic Records can also help you reclaim your power, wisdom, and gifts, not only from your higher self in this lifetime, but across the ages. So across time and space, across past lifetimes where you have developed important gifts or know-how or expertise in whatever area that can be reclaimed and it can be activated in your life, in your current incarnation by connecting to the records. And of course, in the records, time is not linear. Everything is happening simultaneously. So you can connect to past life versions of yourself. I call these past life allies that have these important gifts or wisdom to impart to you. And finally, for now, one more way in which the Akashic Records help you shift from that small, limited, egoic self to the much more expansive self that you actually are, is that the records can help you develop a felt sense of safety to really be your authentic self in the world. And here we're not just talking about, a cognitive or intellectual level of knowing that you're safe, because many of us, we could repeat I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. It's safe to be me, it's safe to be authentic. We could repeat that all day, every day, and intellectually know that, but in our bodies still be really petrified of being ourselves. Or we might have coping mechanisms that get in the way of actually being ourselves, or we might have fears that we need to look at and release. So the records can help you develop a true embodied sense of safety so that you can be your authentic self in the world. And this, again, it's so important. Another distinction in how I teach the Akashic Records and how I teach people and how to use them is that we have to move beyond just the mental level of information and insights. So the records, as a vast repository of information, are really good at providing us with cognitive level information, insights, knowledge, these kinds of things. And it's really important and really good for us to connect to all of that and to receive those downloads of information. But sometimes what I see in how the records are taught in some other places is that it just stays at that level. And that's not enough. That's not enough for genuine, lasting transformation, healing, spiritual evolution, and personal growth. We can't just have the cognitive level insights or information. We also have to apply those insights in real ways. And we have to use the records, or I suggest that we use the records also for somatic level, physical level, energetic level, healing and clearing of stuff that we no longer need, and even to work with our nervous systems. So just to do real grounded somatic level work as well. We need that to create the lasting transformations and healing and experiences that we are really looking for. So those are just some ways in which the Akashic Records, as a powerful spiritual tool, can help you shift beyond that small, limited ego self and get back in touch with and really embody and express who you really are at that much bigger, higher level, which is yourself with capital S, your true self, who you are here to be. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you find this content valuable in some way, please leave a review or a rating or a comment below this video so we can carry forth the conversation. And you are also lovingly invited to join my free 8-day Akashic Records mini course, where I guide you step by step on how to open and access the Akashic Records for personal healing and guidance. So as I said, that's completely free, and you can join by clicking the link in the show notes or the video description below. Take really great care of yourself, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.